This is State School Superintendent Richard Woods, again with you today just to talk about the importance of parent and family engagement. Again, I think without parents we cannot do this job. We can never replace what you do. You are the most important individuals within the education process. You see your children from day one and all the way through the K-12 process, and I can't say enough about the need to have parents engaged, to have our young people know that they have support, that they have a resource, and really just a shoulder to lean on is extremely important. And I think as we look at moving forward, we want to make sure that we support you and that we provide you with the resources that can help educate your children, can help meet the needs of your children, and provide them with a great education. And so I look forward to the days ahead, and again, if we could be of any support here at the Department of Education, whether in Atlanta or down in Savannah and anywhere in between, we're here to help you. So again, wish you the very best, and we look forward to seeing you at a school nearby.
Everyone, I am Stephanie Johnson, and in my current role, I am the Deputy Superintendent for School and District Effectiveness and School Improvement for the state of Georgia. However, one of my best roles and the role that I appreciate and will appreciate for life was of principal. And during that time, I led a turnaround or school transformation that was initiated mostly, I'll say, by parents and a strong family community that wanted to see the best for every child within the community. So we have them here with us today, a group of those parents and school officials who really were instrumental in the transformation of the Maynard-Jackson community. And we're going to ask them some questions. So my question to everyone that's watching today, have you ever thought of what is your role when you want to volunteer with the school? What is your role in your interaction with school leaders and with school teachers in a manner that's going to impact change and student outcome? Well, that's exactly what our parents did. In our Mission Possible story, we began before I even walked in the door, and I'm going to turn this over to the panel at this moment so that they can introduce themselves, and we'll begin our questions.
Hello, my name is Leslie Grant, and I am a parent of a child at Maynard-Jackson High School. He's a freshman. My daughter graduated there last year, and we have been engaged with the school community since before Stephanie was on board as our principal, and both got engaged in what ways we felt we had time for and that the school would accept. I did a lot of volunteering the first year. Actually, my daughter was, I think, in 6th or 7th grade, but went over and basically showed up and asked, how can I be helpful? And there was a lot of great folks there who pointed out different things that they would like help with, and we just rolled up our sleeves and got busy. There was some need for, I guess, improved communication tools and those sort of things. And I think it's a matter of what is your skill set, how can you be helpful, and knowing when you're not being helpful, getting out of the way. So.
Hi, I'm Arlena Edmonds. I'm presently the graduation coach at Maynard-Jackson High School. But even being a graduation coach at Maynard-Jackson High School, I am also a proud parent of 2 students who attended the Atlanta Public School, 2 of which attended Grady High School, where I was previously the PTA president and student activity vice president. I take family engagement and family involvement very seriously. As a divorced mother raising 3 kids, what I do know is the parent involvement determines the outcome and the success of your child. Your child will not like you there, but the best way is to have you be there as a parent, and being involved as much as possible. Trust and relationship determine the success of any school and any child and any parent.
Hi, I'm Shamika Maddox, and I am a parent at Maynard Jackson High School. My son is currently a 10th grader, and I have a graduate who's now at college and has benefited from being in Atlanta Public Schools. I think that it is very important to have a school that is willing to allow the parents to come in and be involved. I'm grateful for my experience at Maynard Jackson and the Atlanta Public School system. I really have learned and embraced family involvement. I looked at the school and I saw there was a need for parents to engage, and I saw there was a need for support through the community, support at the school. And I really truly think that the only way to make sure it's done is getting in and getting it done. So again, I'm grateful to be a part of the Atlanta Public School systems.
I am Michelle Dalton. I'm the parent liaison at Maynard Jackson High School. I've only been doing that for about 3 years, but I am also the parent of a graduate of Maynard Jackson High School. My daughter was the valedictorian there. I am also the parent of a graduate of Grady High School, where I was the membership chair for PTSA at Grady, and then I was membership chair for PTSA at Maynard Jackson High School. I've always been involved with my kids at school, and the lessons that I try and work with on my parents in the Parent Center are lessons that I have learned with my students. How to always be involved with your student regardless of whether or not they want you to. It's a learning lesson, and parents tell me when their children get to high school, they stop because they're older and they don't need it. But I had one to tell me that yesterday. But when you get to high school, it's more of a partnership. You've got to have a partnership so they can move on to the next stage of life.
Well, thanks to everyone for introducing yourselves, and everyone that you see on stage today, they had an integral role in the transformation of our school, and now they play a role in sustaining the programs that we built together and the success of the school, which hopefully will continue to rise and bloom and just become a wonderful place for all kids in the community to attend. A little bit of our story, and I lead everything through strategic planning. When we came on board in 2012, there was a renovation going on. There were, we had some levels of work that we had to do, like many of the schools in America today. And I know that I am speaking to the administrators who are in the office, as well as the parents and community, federal programs people. If you work in a school, you live in a community, you have a role. And one of the biggest things that had to happen there was that we had to listen to the voices of our families and listen to the voices of our children, as well as knowing what were the best options out there to bring to a community so everyone would want to feel valued and successful when they attended Maynard Jackson. And I'm going to talk to the group a little bit today about some of the things that we did that made impact. So I'm going to start, and you all can answer the question here. How do you personally define family engagement in a school or community?
I actually define family engagement by building genuine relationships.
Yes.
I think it starts with the relationship. Relationship building is so important. And when parents feel that it's genuine, when students feel that it's genuine, I think they know that they're being supported. And when they have that support, they really open up to what I really can do. And I think what really helped in our situation is they felt that everyone was accessible. The principal was always there in your face. She was accessible. So for you think the students wouldn't want that, but kids want someone to care. And for us, she cared, and that meant so much. So for me, family engagement starts and is always built on real relationships.
That's great.
Can we jump in a little more?
Yeah, no.
I'm going to add on to that, trust. Trust is a big factor. Trust is a factor when it comes to anything that you're doing, because when you're dealing with family engagement, you're dealing with different type of economic things that's going on with people. So they must trust the individual. In a school, you have principals, you have assistant principal, we have parent engagement, we have counselors, we have wraparound different services. So making sure that you're able to plug a child or a parent into an area where they're trusting that individual. And sometimes relationships where it don't work on one side, it'll work on something else. Ms. Johnson was good to make sure if a student felt more comfortable with you, Ms. Edmonds, I need you to come. If it was some with our assistant principal, then she would make sure that we plug that child or that parent, because at the end of the day, what we want is outcome, and that a parent want to come back anytime they have anything. So it comes under the word that's called trust.
And I'll add on to the trust factor is so huge. If a community, or individual, anybody is putting in their time and effort to engage, or try to engage, and it's not reciprocated, then they'll shut down and leave. And I think being able to accept and, truthfully, honestly, and meaningfully accept what people have to offer or redirect them is a really, really important skill set for a leader of a school. I know that we had there were just sort of so many things that needed to get done on so many levels for so many different, so many different kids. And Stephanie was able to sort of take everything that people were throwing at her and figure out, how to best manage those concerns. And one of the biggest things I remember, I was on the local school council before she came, and we had trouble getting the school improvement plan, like literally asking for it from the administration. And Stephanie came and she set up this data room and invited all of us in to look at, and we were like, oh my gosh, like you really know what's going on in your school, and you're not afraid to to show it. And I think that trust and relationships is key. So.
And the relationships are very important, because when we started at the school, there was no golf team. And Ms. Johnson said, well, if you want to see it happen, we'll make it happen. So my daughter played 4 years of golf at Maynard Jackson High School. We didn't have one when we started there, but she created one.
Well, that goes back to the strategic plan. Families have to be involved in that strategic plan, and thank you all for those nice comments. But the biggest piece here is when you go into a school, whether you're a superintendent, you're the principal, especially those roles, you've got to know exactly what is the best out there that I can offer. Because you're going to have parents who know the best, who live in that community. And you don't want them to feel that they have to run from their community school when it's something that you can offer, and possibly more children than just one family can connect. That was the power of our strategic plan, is because we set up all of the data. We were completely transparent. We pulled in our elementary, middle school principals as well, because we knew that a true transformation and true building of a community wasn't going to happen just at one high school. And we had parents in Sunday sessions, and weekly, we pulled everyone in as we developed our priorities and our strategies, our resources, and then what we wanted to be our key performance indicators or our outcomes, as Ms. Edmonds has mentioned several times. One of the key pieces of that is that parents got to see their role. If you were really wanting IB, and that was a big move when we first moved into the school, then there was a committee that was working around making that happen, and making sure the visit went well. They knew, matter of fact, when I met for my interview with IB, one of the person who was leading the entire committee said, your parents know more about IB than anybody else we've interviewed. Like, they were ready. The parents were at the table for every one of those moves and initiatives, as well as pulling in more extracurricular activities and providing more opportunities for children. And I just want to throw that out there, because parents can't take a back seat to what they feel is important when you're really building and trying to make sure that you have a strong school that offers multiple opportunities for children to have success. So let's move into the next question. Can you talk a little bit about what did this look like in action, and maybe give some examples?
I'll talk about action. One of the things, parents with the subgroup of SWD, students with disability, is making sure that you are engaged, because parents sometimes, we're very sensitive when it comes to our kids. And we want the best for our kids. But sometimes what we do is, because our child have a learning disability or in that subgroup of the SWD, we sometimes don't come and participate because we figure that that child is treated differently. No parent should feel because their child have any forms of disability that they are not involved in what's going on with the school, questions that need to be asked for the importance of their child, and information that they may not know. How can I come and get that information? If you're in any school, you need to make sure as a parent that you feel comfortable enough to come and get all the information and resource that's available to help educate your child to be a better citizen.
And I think a lot of times when we are dealing with our kids, and they're the most precious thing on the planet, and like we tend to maybe just sort of consider our needs the most important ever. And I think giving a little bit of space when you're trying to interact with people at the school, having an understanding about what they may be going through as you're trying to get something handled is really important. And on the school side of it, it's really important that folks who are, the first face you see walking in the door is kind and welcoming, and that no parent feels threatened or just not welcome. And so I think building a really healthy, welcoming culture is critical. But again, as parents, we have to understand we have to reciprocate that, and know when to back down a little bit if that's necessary. And it goes back to relationships. I mean, every healthy relationship in your life is about sort of knowing how to dance with people and where they're at, and what they're feeling, and how to back up and how to move forward. So,
And I think seeing that in action also is, we started having the IB, AP, early college night, gives a parent, because high school's a different beast for a parent. You don't know how to maneuver the waters. So when you have that night and they can come out and ask those questions and get those answers, they come out of those meetings feeling so much better. Like, now I know which way I can go and who I can go to get help.
Staying with the meetings, I really enjoyed when I was at Maynard Jackson. I remember Stephanie first came and she wanted to celebrate everything. So I remember, having these events where we would maybe a meet and greet out on the lawn, or, just kind of getting to know who's at the school. Again, it goes back to building a relationship. And when you see someone that is not in their administrative role, and they're just here to welcome you in and to see what your needs are and to mix and mingle with the community, it really builds a sense of family. So I think setting the tone has helped me and my family to engage and be open to asking questions and seeing what the school needs from us.
Yes, and I will jump on one thing, that one of my very first memories there was the first year that, we were in the renovation. I was new there, it was 2013, and Ms. Edmonds played a huge role in this, was the Mission Possible Summer Opportunity. And I've spoken about this before, but it was huge we knew we needed to connect our children to something that meant something to them. So we were always visible. So during lunchtime, we sat at tables, we connected with children, we talked to them, we wanted to know about their families, and why they may not have been making some of the best choices all the time in classes or in the hall and some things like that. And one of the young men mentioned that he needed a job, and that would possibly keep him out of trouble. And all of his friends started chiming in. Went back to the office, called Richard Corderone actually that day, who was president of SEEKS. And he immediately started calling other people, got on the phone with others. Ms. Edmonds ended up calling several people, the airport, different ones, Atlanta, City Hall, and before long, we had over 500 jobs available, and it really could have been more than that, to be honest, but she put everybody on like a tracking system that you had to attend. And maybe Ms. Edmonds can finish talking about Mission Possible, but it ended up being so successful.
What it was that particular year, what we did was called Mission Possible when Stephanie came in. And the mission was possible, because a lot of time we think things are not possible, or because you don't have the experience, you don't financially. So what we did was we did internships and job, but like anything else, you have to be held accountable. To be able to even get the job or come to the interview, you had to first come to school. So your attendance had to be up on point, and your academic, because more than anything else, what we were doing is making sure that we were getting kids college and career ready. So college and career ready means that you first of all have to be life skills ready. Life skills knowing that you come to school on time, because if you don't come to school on time, then I can't refer you for a job, because you're going to show up and make me look bad.
Yes.
And as parents and stuff, we do not want to look bad. We want to make sure that that company want that child to come back even when they are finished. So we started with kids 15, 16-year-olds. If they weren't able to get a paid job, they will get an internship job where they can actually earn community service, which is one of the requirements of the state to have a certain number of community service. And it goes back to everything else that we've been talking about, that parents plays the role of a successful child. Simple as that. Success comes with the circle of everyone being involved. Parent, child, community, teachers, staff, non-educators, and your collaboration of your other outsourced resource that's going to be able to make that child as successful as possible. So parents, if you're watching this video, it is very important for you not to step back, step up. You are so important in your child's life from the day that you birth them until you walk them down that aisle for graduation. So be involved for the family engagement.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there was just so many active pieces in that. My mind is going back to the children and even getting parents interviews and jobs at that point. Like once the word got out there that we would help you find a job, it just all of a sudden everything just changed, in my opinion. Like we really started moving in the right direction. I think it's one of the reasons because when Ms. Edmonds mentioned that trust piece, I think people connected with us and saw that we were really invested in their children's lives and their lives, and that we weren't just pushing academics, which is always important, but we were also pushing to build success around the whole child. And I think people started appreciating that in the entire community. But our parents stepped up. Our parents that own businesses, they called and they say, I have a daycare, I have a nursery. They named all kinds. I will hire, need somebody to do my lawn. Like we had like a list that was just on paper, just writing down who could go to who for interviews and how to get things done. And we were steady calling, and businesses were calling us. Like before long, it just went viral that we had this initiative moving, and just so many people benefited with the efforts of our school personnel, the parents, our partnerships, and the community. So that was one initiative on taking action that I know I certainly appreciated. Okay, you all want me to move forward? So let's talk here. A lot of people don't really have strategies for making family, community, partner engagements happen. Can you name some strategies to develop relationships with the parents, specifically of middle and high school students?
I want to put a little request out there. I think, like understanding what is that first point of engagement, and you have a lot of different parents who will engage a lot of different ways, and understanding what each of those is really important. So if you have a parent who's going to like pay attention and communicate by a message, a remind or something, if you have people that are using social media to interact with you, making sure that your website, which is like your calling card, your business card, is out there, makes people, like, it says a lot about the entity. And so I think having making sure that everything that you put out is what people understand and can engage with, and then if it's not, being willing to step back, look at it critically, and change it a little bit. And I think your flexibility with everything always was one of the most important pieces. And again, it's relationships, and just everybody stepping up and doing a little part and being welcome to do that, and not making people feel like, why are you here? Or it never was that way.
And one of our big things was on communication, which Ms. Johnson preached when she was there. It also got us to a point where we have our website. Staff members have different websites. The Parent Center has a website. But one of the main things we have, and we got while she was there, was the Maynard Jackson app. And our parents are loving that. When they come in, one of the first things I ask them when they come into the Parent Center is, do you have the Maynard Jackson app? Because they'll say, like, I've had a couple parents that come up and say they want to create this program and that program. And I sit down at the computer with them, and we've already got that program. But you didn't click the little checkbox to get the app, or you didn't download the app on your phone, you didn't click the checkbox in Parent Portal. So we sit there and we have a lesson, and then they go, oh, so now let me know what I can do to help you to get, to do anything else. Because the ideas I've come up with, we're already doing, we've got this going on. And then I said, set your alert on your app, because mine goes off at 7:30 every morning to tell me what's going on for the day.
Mine still does.
And if you do that, you've gotten the information. So like Ms. Grant said, we've got Remind, we've got the Maynard Jackson app, we've got the website, but that app has been a great thing.
And I'll say for me, I can remember when Stephanie first came to Maynard Jackson. She was so excited about getting into the community. It was really funny because I thought, she's serious. she wanted to get in. She was like, let's go the old-fashioned way. Let's go knock on doors. Because maybe you may not have it, access to the computer. You may not have a cell phone that's smart or an app to download. But getting out there and knowing who's in your community is what is so important, because there are parents that you need to be able to touch. You need to be able to let them know that here's what we have available to you, and here's how you use these things. And having a principal or a school leader or a graduation coach that doesn't mind getting out there and showing you hands-on how to do it is so important. And I think that's really the start.
Thank you for that.
Let me add to this, because we, naturally, because we are parents of Maynard Jackson in the community, and just like I said, my kids went to Grady. Let me speak on strategy in regards to, as a whole, in regards to getting parents involved. Strategy comes with knowing your audience. You got to know your audience. You must know your audience, because what works for one may not work for the other. So what you have to then do is bridge layers of, what do I need to do for this group? What do I need to do for this environment, this community? So several things. So the first thing, even as a principal in your school, assistant principal, whoever, family, you first need to know, what's my audience? How do I reach my audience? We go to a concert, we know what type of concert we like, we know what type of music we like. So that's the same thing. To be able to get parents to buy in, you must first know your audience, because if you know your audience, then you cater toward the audience that you're having. So more than anything else, be open. And Ms. Shamika just said it a few minutes ago. We knocked on doors. Sunday morning, we used to go to church, we'd go service, and maybe even sometime, and Ms. Dalton was very good in setting up the parent engagement and having different meetings. We have the SWD meeting, we have meetings of every level, because people are at different stage in their life. But more than anything else, we cannot let a number stop us from going to whatever that engagement is. Because you may go somewhere, we've had meetings, and just being honest, we may have 3 or 4 parents, but those 3 or 4 parents left there knowing more than when they came. So the resource that was available for them at that time was able to help them be successful in their child.
I'll tell you, a huge thing about our transformation is that our community is extremely diverse and eclectic. Literally everyone lives in that community. And you have to be ready as a parent for your child to engage and interact with everyone in the community, because they're going to. And where we found in the value of our parents, I know when we first came on board, it was a very tumultuous time. I'll just be honest with you. Lots of changes were happening fast, and academics that we were struggling academically, and at the same time we didn't have all the extracurricular that we really needed. There were a number of things going. And one of the parents came and said, when we finished our strategic planning and we had world travel as one of our strategies, under engagement of children. I forgot exactly what that bucket was at the time, but we were talking about what we wanted our children to experience. And we had the world travel on there, and then we had all of these extracurricular. We added every GHSA extracurricular activity that was out there other than gymnastics. The only one we couldn't get through because APS didn't have gymnastics, but we did every other one. And one of the parents that day, she said, Stephanie, this is she says, all of this is going to happen. So I see the energy behind it. This is going to happen. She said, but whatever we do, there can never be a have and have not. Yeah. There has to always be, no matter where you're from, even if you're one of the kids that's bused into Maynard Jackson and you don't live here in Grant Park, everything has to be accessible to everybody. And that brought me so much relief, because it made it where we didn't have to do applications. If you wanted it to be an IB, it was open for everybody. If you wanted to take an AP exam, we opened it to everybody. And then we went out and found support. As a matter of fact, community helped us find support. Dr. Bob and Cindy and all, they helped us find support to help the children to accelerate their learning rather than feeling hopeless and that they were going to be on their own. They started this Friday thing, the Friday socials, where whatever the Maynard Jackson activity was on a Friday, the freshman parents started with Michelle Newcomb. They would have like a rotating dinner and activity after, so our children would have safe places to go with other teenagers and get to know other teenagers in the school. And it didn't matter what community you came from. It was just parents sponsoring this at their houses and just learning to enjoy each other like teenagers should. So, when we're talking about like the actions and what parents can do, that's not necessarily being in the school and teaching or doing duty, but that's something that you can really do to build trust and collaboration among the students and student body. Because I'll remember one other thing I'm going to point out. Don Grant, who's Leslie's husband, he was one on the GO team there. He said, I was sitting back and I was watching you all say, we're going to add this, add this, add this. He said, and I was like, those are teenagers. They are not going to do all of this stuff. He said, and then they didn't just start doing it, they started winning. Right. So then all of a sudden, not only do we have academic decathlon, we're winning it like first place. And not only, do we have like debate teams and all, we're winning when we go places and the children are feeling good about themselves. So then you're watching like the culture change, because people their talents are not just boxed into one or two things. They can find activities that they can really have success. So I just wanted to throw that little piece in because that was huge to me. Okay, so here we go. What is your advice for obtaining and sustaining community partnerships?
Showing up.
Yeah.
I think when you think about how you build community partnerships, you have to go out and meet your community, and you have to first off listen to what your community needs are, and I think it starts there.
And I think, just being clear and specific about what you want and what you need, and being honest, don't undersell it, but and then you have to show back up and show them like, here's what we did with what your investment, whether it was time, talent, treasure. This is what we did with what you gave us, and we really appreciate it. And I think that just full circle of what do you need, how do you go find somebody that can do it, and then how do you keep that continue to build that relationship is really important. So.
And your parents are your community. They will help to build those partnerships.
Yes.
Because I've got two right now that want me to go and meet with a couple of stores that want to partner with the school. And they've reached out to me. One has hired 5 of our students. I've got someone else who's come in to meet with me. He wants to hire 4 students. And he wants to set up a juice bar in the school for certain days. So, it's just parents are the community.
They really are. And you know, when at the beginning of the year, and this is to any leader that's in the audience, when you're talking to your parents, find out what their strengths are. Like when we first got there, like I arrived in November. We were having the first IB interview in December. And I remember somebody said, call Shamika Maddox. She is like a caterer and she can do, she is going to have everything set up for you. I didn't know anybody and she did. She made like this beautiful thing. Do you remember how nice everything was? Everything looked so professional. But you know, then we started calling on many parents. Like that's how we ended up with the bike club. Like, you know, it's not even in GHSA, but then the children wanted to ride bikes, you know, those kind of things. And then in partnering, contacting like even major corporations like Zeist and GE and some of the others that really, like Zeist actually paid for our first 14 teachers to get AP certified, you know, ended up being 18. And then they started just sending money to the school to help with other projects. But it's like building and engaging, and I probably shouldn't call it's like 100-something partners there, but you know, they just first come to mind because at the beginning they were there and they have just sustained all of that support.
Ms. Johnson, let me add too.
Yes.
The word that comes to me is value. Knowing the value of your community partners, and what they bring, what they give, and as well as what the students and the parents and everybody's giving back. We have one of our partners, her name is Sydney Smith. Sydney is with Giving Point. Giving Point was a big tool that we use at Maynard Jackson. She was actually at our school volunteering, where kids will have a list of the different community service events that was going on. But not only that, what it did was also a child had to write a paper when they were done of their community service. So what that did is allow that child to go back and rehash and remember everything they did, that they were doing something that was of value to an organization. So it's so important for us to understand the value of our community partner, no matter whether it's a community partner have 1 employee, 2 employee, 1,000 employee. The value of that community partnership is important to the school and to where you live.
Yep.
Yes, the same city was actually a parent.
Yes.
She was a parent also, and she brought great wealth, and she was one that was there every day also.
But I think that was where, like, you know, we have a requirement that students have to do volunteer hours, and
right.
when you don't have the, you know, ability or support, right, to do that effectively, then, you know, we kind of, you know, oh, give them 50 hours for doing so and so they can graduate, which is crazy. But I think just, again, looking at and understanding and not being ashamed of admitting where your deficiencies are, and then going out and finding somebody that wants to come and help you with that. And I know that we're doing this because we're like sort of laying out, you know, one specific case with Jackson, and hopefully this will translate to a bigger, broader, you know, lesson or, you know, plan of how to go about this. But something that just is really critical is understanding having the right leader in place. Somebody that folks can, you know, do trust, that is positive, that is engaged, that is, you know, like energetic. And you're not a unicorn, but you're pretty close, I think. but it is a real skill set, and I think our districts need to make sure that they're bringing folks along, that they're bringing their principals along, and empowering their principals with everything they need to feel like I'm in charge of this, and, you know, I'll get what I need from my district and my community, because all these kids deserve it. So that's, yeah.
You know, and I just say this to every leader out there, you know, when we sign that contract to go into a school community, we have to realize that whatever we bring to that community, that's where they live. And no matter what is in your thoughts about what is best, it's really important to interact with the community to see how important that is to your community, and if it's something that you need to try. And the reason I say that is because, I mean, I'll be honest with you, moving into 2012, we didn't have a star student that year. Our test scores, I want to say our ACT was like an average of a 12. It was like really, you know, and the community was pushing for IB and AP, and they wanted stronger early college, and they were calling and asking for an alignment with Georgia Tech. And at the time, my whole thought was, really, we're going to do, this is going to be our first priority. Like, this is the first thing that we're doing. And, there were like 60 fights, like those kind of things. But, when I heard their voices, it dawned on me, like, go and find out what's the best out there. Where are the examples where things are happening? And then it's your role to make this happen for these families. And I can remember saying in one of the first PTA meetings, we're going to do all of this, but I need you all to help me. Like, we're going to have to do it together. And they did not mind. Matter of fact, they were the ones that began setting up like those Sunday meetings and those evening meetings and even some early in the morning meetings, and so that we could create strategy to make all of that happen. And then it did. That was like that's one of the it makes me feel good that when I walked out of that door, that we walked out knowing that it wasn't me that built a school. It wasn't any particular person. It was like the help of everyone. The only thing when I say, and I know it's a ton of leaders in the crowd today, when you are the leader of something, it's your place to set the vision and to create some level of a mission for obtaining that, and for making sure that everyone understands, number one, children are going to be the root of everything that you do and their outcome. And knowing that when someone calls you and they're angry, if you can just get them in the office and talk to them, you typically can work it out. And that people aren't angry typically without a cause. That there's something going on that either they feel is out of control or something that they want, they feel like they're not being heard. And if there's a way that you can always take care of those needs, then you're going to help other children. And I think that that's something that we ended up doing, and I won't tell everybody to do, but everyone has my cell phone number. The kids have it, the teachers have it, everybody has it, parents, everybody, and they called all day and all night, and they text all day and all night. But but then it stopped. After a couple of years, it stopped at the rate that it did at first. But I think that it just was powerful because I heard from everybody. So when we were creating our plans, I knew what was important to people, and I knew what we could do. Sometimes there were things that we were just not ready for. And I like German class. I couldn't figure out how to put it on the schedule. And then when we put it out there, it was like 20 people that registered for it, and I couldn't afford to do a teacher and books and all of that for 20 people. So we had to figure out a way to do it virtually. But sometimes you can't do something, but you can tell people, let me tell you why I can't do it right now. But we did get a German trip. Okay, so reflecting back on your roles, what was the most significant accomplishment of parents? We had Moms of Maynard also, remember that? of our parents and all of our advisory councils. What specific challenges or barriers have you observed?
I'm going to answer. Okay. And I take this from both parts. I take this from being PTA president, student engagement from Grady, and I've been PTA president since my kids were in school. More than anything else, parents come to the school with layers, just like a banana. You got to peel the layer to get to that actual fruit. Why? Because sometimes if they're only getting a phone call because their child is doing something bad and not getting a phone call on something they're doing right, then they don't want to come in there, because all you do, that's my parent is coming in like, oh my God, my child is bad. One of the things that works for me as well as work at the school is being able to let a parent know you can come into our school at any time. It doesn't make a difference. You can come there if you feel uncomfortable, you feel comfortable, you're mad, and more than anything else is being able to find that person to be able to fit with that parent. Because you may come in for the administrator, for the principal, but maybe it's the assistant principal that needs to talk to that parent at that particular time because of what's going on and they're real upset. So we have to make sure that we take our parents' opinion, how they feel, and let them know that your child is priority to us in everything we do. Because when they send that child to school, they are sending that child from the parent to the school. So you're now the parent of that school, no matter what role that you play in that particular school.
Now, I would say, reflecting back on my experiences there, well, as a parent liaison, like I try and move forward with what I've learned with my two children, graduating from different high schools. Also, as a parent, when we started at Jackson, it was a trial basis because I had done online school with my daughter, the middle school. So, as Ms. Johnson said, it was a little tumultuous. So with each incident, I was like, okay, we're gonna do this next year. So the first year became the second year, and we're going, okay, if we're gonna make a move, we need to make it now. But then we sat down with Dr. Paul, worked on early college, and through the program there, we were able to, Maynard Jackson was the first school, although some of the other schools have early college. Maynard Jackson was the first one to have students to get their associate's degrees before the high school diploma.
We were the first.
And my daughter was one of those. So I teach my parents that there's access. We have all types of programs there. Let's find what your child likes to do. Tell them you stay vigilant as a parent, and I need the child to stay focused. And with those two, we can move on and you can do just about anything.
I think one of the things that we haven't talked about yet, but we kind of just out of need and maybe skill did a rebranding of kind of a rebranding campaign of the school. I think there are a lot of people, people get a certain way, they think a certain thing about something, they won't even step in the door. And it was really important that people drop your guard, come over and see all the great things that are happening. So it's not just some PR campaign, it's real. And just sort of putting together a cohesive brand, starting the swag, you start to see shirts all around the community, Jaguars and, Baby Jack, future Jaguar for little kids, but the yard signs, and we had a very active Facebook page that a lot of parents participated in. And I think just sort of understanding, people's need to feel, a level of comfort about exploring more. And I think especially in this day and age where we have a lot of competition from charter schools and private schools in Atlanta, and there's a lot of different options. You've got to have you got to have your stuff together, and you got to you can't be going, oh, get over here because it's your this is what you're supposed to do.
And you know what? Parents led that. So our parents, who also, her husband was one of them, and Michelle Newcomb also, they led that whole branding. They knew they were graphic artists and graphic designers. They were in the community. They had children at the school, and we spent that summer working around committees on how did we want to brand our school, and created cute little monograms, and it was just a great opportunity. But I'll tell you another piece, and I didn't say this earlier. We also set up tours, Mission Possible tours, every Tuesday and Thursday, and they fill up. The people wanted to come, and we showed them every aspect of the school.
Realtor?
We showed and then that's a whole nother story about how then they get excited. The realtors get excited, and they want to be a part of all of this, and that was huge too. That's true. And Don asked me, were we going to talk about the realtor participation today? But but the big piece is, be transparent and let your families come in, because I tell you, not only did the current families come and walk the building, we would have people with babies and strollers saying, I'm thinking about buying a house here, and I know we're going to have to choose a school, and I wanted to just see the school. I heard you all will do tours, and we let them see everything, and the kids of course loved it and interacted with them, and so that was a very important role in pulling people in and allowing them to see this is your child's experience.
And I think too, with you saying that and everything that every parent has shared, it means, when you hear all this talk about what's going on in the community, it's like, let me get in here and see what's to talk about Jackson. Or whatever community you decide to put your child in. So I think for me, the start of the Moms of Maynard and building the PTSA. I remember going to the first meeting. It was scary.
Yeah. It's totally changed now, but it was awful.
For someone to lead it, and I was like, I can't. But I believe that you can. You have to support your school. You have to support your community, and your child needs you to support them. And I believe that when you build your household, a strong community, you have a strong school, and it just works. It's beneficial. It takes you as a parent to get everything going. So don't ever feel like you can't start or you can't do anything or you don't have value. You have value, even if it's just showing up. A hello
true.
goes a long way.
It surely does.
And you're not just there for your child. And I think everybody, that's it, is that what worked about that and was special about it was, you know, the saying, to whom much is given, much is expected. And, you know, none of us up here are, you know, really wanting for that much. And I think we had an entire community that was like, you know, it's not just about me coming in and engaging just for the sake of my child. It was, you know, like, how are you going to help the entire community of students that was there, and families. I mean, we've got parents that we raise money all the time, you know, like somebody needs a washer dryer, you know, like, okay, and so it, you know, it's somebody's house burned down. There's a,
Where I was headed next, I wanted you all to talk about like our holidays and the initiatives, like, you know, here in Atlanta, we do have a homeless population. It is just real. And in the shelters, once you get to a certain age, like parents can't stay with their sons and stuff, and it's holiday. Our parents, when we brought that to their attention, we can start, whoever wants to start with all of the money that we raise to get them together for holidays.
yeah. Well, you,
Yes. Last year, was that first year?
yeah.
Our
second.
first year we did it. Our social worker, Miss Patty, in the neighborhood. They started out when the kids were getting out for the Christmas. What are they going to do for Christmas? Okay, so Ms. Johnson said, what are we going to do? Well, I got this wonderful idea. We need to make sure they have something to do, something to eat. Yeah. We put it out in the community. Every child that was a part of, and you know, homeless is a big piece in Georgia and just all over. Mm-hmm. We put together bags. In bags, they had Kroger card, Visa card, Chick-fil-A card, Foot Locker, movies, Royal Coca-Cola, Six Flags, Aquarium. But it came strictly from community partners, parents, people who didn't even know us but knew that we were doing the initiative to make a difference, that when a child left for the summer or for the holiday, they had something to eat. Something
to do.
Productive,
Yeah.
to make sure that it kept them out of trouble, everything. And so it goes back to making sure that we are helping where help is needed.
And this was a big piece too, is because those that had kind of used up their United Way vouchers and things like that. So Leslie and the Go Team members, they went out and they actually had, they paid for families to stay in hotels for 2 weeks at a time when they ran, you know, so that they didn't have to be apart or not have a safe place to go as well. So, and I mean, we can go on forever because our family and community, they just did so much. Even Thanksgiving dinner, you want it like and the feeding. What do we call it? Maynard Jackson Feed the Homeless. You know, like pulling in, like really just whatever we saw. I mean, that is probably the biggest piece around. And I can say I'm a parent too because my own son went there also during the time I was there. But it was like whatever we saw was a need, we really paid that equity piece attention. And when I say the equity piece, like, it didn't matter what your income was. You wanted to go on one of these world travel opportunities, you got to go. It didn't matter. You could take AP. You didn't have to worry about paying the $94 exam fees, and you didn't have to worry about your $1,000 IB fees. We got all of that taken care of. You know, if it was a field trip, you know, we would do donation only. You know, like, but we did not eliminate opportunities for any child to participate in anything. You know, I'm thinking like golf and tennis and all. We came up as a community with how we were going to raise money in order to make it so that any child who wanted to be a part of all these wonderful things, they had that. And I tell you, when you look at the results, So many of the children are going to college now. So many first generation children, and I'm watching them graduate on Facebook. They're calling or texting or tweeting about it, and it's just like we did it. Like that's kind of what you're like. We did it. We really are. We changed life trajectory for families. Like this is going to be generational change because we spent that time and burnt that energy to work together to build somewhere that anyone can come and have success.
And let me add, we talking about family engagement. Family engagement, when you think about family, family is everything. Your staff, your community, your business partners. Well, I'm going to tell you my personal family engagement for me. I lost my son in 2014. It was the community, it was the staff, it was the community partners that came out and support me 100%. And so when we say family engagement, sometimes what we try to do is to cookie cut just a parent in the school. But when you talk about family engagement, you talk about the family. Your staff is your family. Your administrator, your principal, your assistant principal, your hall monitor, your cafeteria people. That's family engagement because we're engaging everyone, not just one individual or even just the students. When you have students sending you a card or telling you that you don't look happy today, you have my shoulder to lean on, that's family. That's family engagement. And so any community that's out there, do not take your environment and your neighborhood for granted. Engage and make it what you want to make it, but it depends solely on you how bad and how you want to make that engagement to look.
So let's talk about motivation to do this. What motivated all of you? All of you were very integral to the transformation of the entire Jackson community. I mean, elementary up, including charter schools, our own school, everything. What motivated you to take an active role?
I think for me, like I said, I can remember my first day for my son. And I kept saying I went with my husband, I went with my son, he was small, it was just, I'm not gonna lie, it was scary, not only as a parent, but the environment just wasn't inviting for me. And yes, I can say it's separation anxiety for me being a mom, but it was just me saying, you know what, they need me, I need them, I need to support the school, I need to support my child, I need to support whatever their needs are. I know there's a transition that is happening right now, but they still need me. So for me, I mean, it building that family, and the only way that you can build a family and to build relationships is being involved. I think going back to what we were just talking about on how to build a family and how to build the trust and how to build relationships, my favorite part of being at Maynard Jackson is our holiday traditions, our holiday events that we do. Christmas is like Christmas at home, but it's Christmas at school. So I feel like, my son, he's in college now, he still feels like, man, we just miss going to the auditorium and just seeing everyone being happy. So again, I think it just starts about family and community.
I lost my thought.
I mean, your question was why? And we, my husband and I, we moved where we moved. We love our neighborhood. We love our community. And honestly, we participated kindergarten through 8th grade in a startup charter school that was community-based. And throughout that experience, I continued, as many people did, to get very frustrated with the larger system that we were engaged in. And seeing, it's that whole thing, if you want something done, you do it yourself. And so being very, not afraid to, move in or push in, it was just what are we going to do? We're not moving. We're not leaving this awesome community that we love. There's a lot of misperceptions about our local high school, and so what are you going to do? You just you push in, and I think having an understanding about what was needed, and you were the linchpin for a lot of people continuing, to stay and be engaged, because there are folks who have a choice and will do something else. And if it's not a great culture, great environment, great opportunity, then, people who will go somewhere else. And it's so funny though, because, well, I don't want to tell too much, but some folks who were, again, very reticent about, what was going on, and sort of one of the goals was, okay, let's pick what we want it to look like, right? Pick sort of the, the vision long term. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, one of the things is like, okay, the school is named after Maynard Jackson. Mm-hmm. Like, what's going to make his, grandkids, his kids want to send their kids there, right? And so now it's just funny just how far it's come in a very short amount of time. But I think having something that is inviting and competent and, is not afraid to say, oh, we messed up here, we need to go here. Just that, raw level of honesty that I think you exhibited to everybody, and, just welcoming attitude went miles for us staying engaged. So thank you.
And
nice.
For me, I've always been involved in my kids' education. And what I will ask my parents sometime is, when somebody asks to borrow your car, are you going to just let them have it? No, you're going to ask them questions. Mm-hmm. So you have this precious child that you gave birth to. Mm-hmm. You're just going to go and drop them off at a school that with somebody you've never seen before, you've never talked to. This is your precious cargo. You got to ask some questions. There needs to be an adult face to go with that little face, so that they know that there's somebody that's responsible for that child, somebody that you've got to report to, somebody that knows a little bit more, and somebody that's going to keep that child on track, and if necessary, you on track. So, that's it.
That was Miss Edmonds' job.
Yes, I would take parents and students to Miss Edmonds. I said, Miss Edmonds.
So she can say, Mom, you're wrong.
I think you have to come to Jesus meeting.
So now, to piggyback on that, knowing your purpose. Right. You must know your purpose. If you don't know your purpose, even as a leader, you can go and get all the degrees in the world. Mm-hmm. You can be doctor, master, specialist. But if you're not specializing in your purpose and, first of all, knowing how to treat people, your school's not going to be successful. It's not going to be successful. Your parents are not going to be engaging. They're not going to want to come because, first of all, they're going to pick up that vibe right away. And not like we always agreed on everything that Ms. Johnson did. Don't get us wrong. And you're not going to agree. But the key is that you got to trust, you got to respect, and you got to value. And you have to get out of the box and know exactly what you want for your school and your community.
Mm-hmm. So last, what advice or specific strategies could you offer to our statewide family engagement partners to achieve similar results in their fields?
Okay. First of all, they need to make sure they have several meetings, so they can break down strategies and what they're expecting, because every school is looking for something different. So you have to find out what is needed for that particular school. And you take that school and you let people know that their opinion matters. You just don't say, no, that's not a good idea. No, you got to find out what everybody's gift is at. You let them operate in that particular gift. You back up and you allow them to work it to the best of their ability, because they're putting everything into it, because that's their purpose and that's their calling. And they want to find out what's going to be good for that particular community at that time. So statewide, number one is making sure your parents are buying into your school and buying into their community. They must buy into their community. If they don't buy into their community, you don't have anything. You can't go to the store and say, can you please give me this? No, you have to buy into it. So you have to be able to buy it to be able to utilize it.
That's true.
Good point. I think, I really want to encourage everybody, it's really simple. Know how to listen, Make sure you have the tools to listen, you know, and get your, like, put your best foot forward. You've got to be welcoming and open and receptive to the people you want to engage, and be very cognizant of how we turn people off. So know that, but, you know, like, get your stuff together. Your website's got to work. You know, your links need to work. People need to hear from you. If they email you, if they call you, you've got to return calls. How are you taking in things and showing people that, okay, I heard you, I see that I've got 25 parents who are concerned about this issue, and we're going to do something about it. And that bit of, you know, being able to quickly turn around, be responsive, be accountable, that is huge.
Yes.
I think for me to say is, most importantly, be accessible. Be able to be a leader that you can be accessible. Someone needs to be able to get to you. So that's my biggest thing. Once you're accessible, I mean, everything else is going to come. Everything is going to come.
And for me, I would say realize what goes on at the high school side, because when I first became a parent liaison, everything was geared towards elementary and middle school. And I looked at the documentation in my first training, and I asked, how does this work in the high school? This is not what we do. This is not what happens in a high school. And so they had to research and find a document the next day for me to go by. But you just need to be aware. I think that's the best thing, aware of, you know, high school is different than middle school. It's different than elementary school. We're getting them ready for the world. Career and college ready, that's what we want.
I think that's great. Now, any parting words? Everyone is going to have access to our video, and that will be superintendents who lead districts, federal program directors who lead funding across the state, school improvement specialists, principals, parent-family engagement. Everyone is going to have access to this video. As people who've jumped in and made a significant difference as parents, and mostly parents across the panel here, what do they need to know? What is it that maybe we didn't cover today on the panel that you really think is important for a parent to know, or for a parent or a leader here who's trying to work to engage and build a parent community for one of the school districts here in Georgia?
I would say for parents, know that you count. You count what you want. We take into, well, what you want is what we do. As a parent liaison, if you don't know who to reach into the school, call me, email me. We will find out. And that's a lot of what my parents do. They'll come in and say, Ms. Dalton, I didn't know who else to go to, so I'm here with you. I knew somebody else told me that you would point me in the right direction. Just know that we're here. If something's not there, like Ms. Johnson used to do, if it's not there, let us know, and we'll find out how to do it, how to get it. How to fix it. So, you are important. Your child is our number one concern.
That's true.
I think for me, for parents, I would say to you to just, one, show up. Your job is never too small. It hasn't been small for you being a parent, and it won't be too small for you being a support system for your school, your community, or your child. I think it's important that you make a connection and build a relationship with your teachers, because we send our kids to school and honestly we only know of a name. I meet with my kids' teacher sometimes twice a year, 3 times a year. It's not just when we have these meetings for everyone. I want to meet you personally. What are your needs? What do you need for me to support you? So just make sure you know what your school needs. And for school leaders, just listen out to what your parents are saying to you. Because there's not a voice that's too small, and you never know, they may be the same question may be for someone else. So just be able to listen.
Know your value and know what you're looking for you and your child.
And I think for parents, you know, when you do step into whatever role or however you can give, you know, something, try to remember, lead, follow, or get out of the way. Like, are you being productive? Are you helping something move forward? You know, if that's not your, you know, your specialty, then let somebody do it that's doing it.
To all of the educators, whether you're a superintendent, the principal, anyone, my advice is when you have that strategic plan, don't just have parents who are yesers in the audience with you. You need a full range of everyone, your school board members, your teachers, your parents, family, community partners. And when you outline what those priorities are that you're going to address and you create your strategies, when you do that budget, that was huge for us. When we went through what our budget was that we got from state and from federal and then from like some of the small grants and all of that, and we saw, hold on, we've got to add all of this, we've got to do all of this. By going through the plan and hearing the community voice as well as knowing what our accountability voice was, we were able to prioritize across the years what was going to happen each year across those first 3 years. And then we were able to go out to partners like when I mentioned Zeist and even Cousins Foundation that purchased some things for math with us. You're able to say, this is what I have in the bucket and this is what I need and what we're going to do with this money if you will please donate it, and this is what we're hoping the outcome is going to be. And once you have all of that, you don't just really have to worry about your millage because people from national corporations and international corporations and even to the point where you end up building community foundations like we ended up doing for the entire Jackson cluster to close the gap on the equity piece that I know is going to go far, then you don't have to, money no longer is the main issue. It's serving children in your community. And that's what every strong school district, that's what's just got to happen. And then I will tell every parent in closing out, know the policies. Because if you go into even the Georgia Department of Education or your local school board policies and you know how grading is supposed to occur or you know what can be offered or what can't, then you have law to come and speak and engage. And if there's difficulty around that, then ask the principal or superintendent for guidance. How do we make this work for a child within the policy or the law? There's in this day and age, there's just so many opportunities for children. There's flexibility, opportunities to change things. But the main thing is if we all work together around that total continuous improvement cycle, then we're going to see greater outcome for every child in the state of Georgia. It's just that you can't depend on someone to do it by themselves, and you can't just take a back step at any point. We all have to jump in and play our role with impacting the lives of children. We want to thank the parents for coming out today, and graduation coach and parent liaison, and our parent on the end here, Miss Grant, and especially Miss Maddox, who actually has a daycare right down the street here. Yes. But we want to thank you all so much for participating in our video today. It means a lot.